With the impending birth of the prince or princess, I think it's going to be a princess, and I think she's going to be called Alexandra. There, you heard it here first. With the impending birth of the new royal, I thought it's quite timely to talk about pregnancy, and in particular the third trimester of pregnancy. Some of the issues that come around with nutrition, and some strategies that you can adopt if you share the same birth date or impending birth date. Now, as your doctor will tell you, or midwife will tell you, some of the key things to watch out for are swelling, fatigue, gestational diabetes, and anemia. They're kind of the common issues that happen around the third trimester that can be linked back to what you're eating. When it comes to iron and the requirement for iron, your blood volume is going up in the third trimester of pregnancy, so you do need more iron-rich foods. I was a long-time vegetarian before I had my children. The 20th week of pregnancy, I started craving red meat, so I ate it. It's quite interesting sometimes. Some of the cravings that you have during pregnancy are very much what your body needs. So don't fight it. Maybe it is time to have the odd steak or the whole lamb kofta if you are craving it. It's a good thing. You can also look for pulses, and nuts can be a good source, for example, grains. But try to, if you're focused on that as your iron source, serve it with, squeeze some lemon over those sorts of dishes, because that can enhance the iron absorption. So that's something to consider. When it comes to eating in the third trimester in general, it can be more uncomfortable because literally your stomach is being squashed. There's less room to eat. So smaller meals more often can be really helpful, and also eating very last thing at night before bed, because otherwise you may wake up hungry. Using things like juices can be quite helpful if you're making them fresh in particular, but using quite a lot of vegetables, so just to avoid the excessive sugar that would come from too much fruit juice. So maybe two vegetables to one fruit would be a good way to go. And just, as I said, small concentrated meals, making sure that everything is counting, because what you're eating is not just building your baby's body, but it's also serving up their first few months of minerals, if you like, that they'll carry with them once they're born. So you eat an iron-rich, nutrient-rich diet, it's going to help your baby. It's also going to help keep your milk healthy. It's also going to help prepare your energy levels for the marathon, or the sometimes marathon, that can be labour. So what you eat is no longer just about calories. I'll talk about that in a second. It's also very, very important that you are fueling your body and your baby's body for a healthy next phase of life. When it comes to how much to eat, it's down to appetite, really. Yes, we used to talk too much about eating for two. That doesn't really apply, but certainly in my experience, hunger tends to kind of come and go. It's not a set pattern. It's not that you're hungry every single day of your pregnancy. But as baby's growing more rapidly, you may need more, and of course your appetite can be affected by things like weather or feeling uncomfortable too. The weight that you will be gaining, especially in the third trimester of pregnancy, is actually really important. It's there for an incredibly important purpose. It's to help you store fat to feed the baby with your breast milk. If that's something you're going to be able to do, then fantastic. And of course, it's actually building the baby itself. So it's not like any other time in your life when gaining weight maybe wouldn't be as welcome. You should be embracing it as long as you're eating a healthy diet. And actually, people do vary. I found it's not just about what's written down in a book. People vary quite a lot in terms of how much weight they gain. Personally, I found that I gained more weight proportionately to many of my friends, but I started off with less body fat. So perhaps that was one of the reasons that my body felt the need to store more. And yes, it did come off relatively quickly with not too much effort afterwards. So please don't worry if you're starting to panic about what the weight's. Just chuck the scales out for now and focus on feeding you and your baby. In terms of supplements, which is probably the last area that I need to cover here, I do recommend most often taking supplements, especially in the third trimester, of the very, very healthy DHA omega fats, so the healthy baby brain fats, fish oils effectively, that can help with your baby's brain development. There's some really good research, strong research around that. If you've been supplementing throughout your pregnancy, then fantastic. But certainly now that you're entering the third trimester, I would really focus on the fish oil aspect. There are some great supplements out there. Go to your local health food shop. There's not one in particular that I would recommend. You can ask your doctor or your midwife if you prefer, but certainly it's something that I would consider. Or make sure that you consume at least 2 portions of oily fish over the course of the week. So that's kind of salmon, mackerel, sardines, tuna to a lesser extent, but it's still valid. Omega-rich eggs, those sorts of foods, very, very important. If you're in the States or some other countries where a broader range of foods are fortified with omega fats, then those would be a good source too. Nuts and seeds can be a source to a lesser extent as well. So that's really something to consider in terms of dietary supplementation going into the third trimester of pregnancy. And last, but definitely not least, I would suggest enjoying the peace and quiet. As a mother of 2 very noisy young children, if someone had said to me, please just put your feet up, watch some DVDs, go for a massage, take the time, make it a precious time. Yes, you might be uncomfortable, yes, you might be feeling swollen and everything else, but do try to get some precious sleep in before baby is born, and good luck to you if this information is relevant to you. All the best.